Hello, today's December 13th, and we're doing business and social. We're on a schedule. Let's go.
Let's talk about AMD. And they have dropped quite the bombshell this week. And not only that bombshell, but all of their big tech bros are like, yeah, Nvidia's getting a little too powerful. We're on board with this.
Meta and Microsoft say they will buy AMD's new AI chip as an alternative to Nvidia's.
Some Game of Thrones shit.
Yeah, I mean, this is really just completely nuts.
Game of Chips is the title.
Oh, we're
Game
going to
of
forget
Chips.
that Game of Chips.
They showed off a lot of stuff at their press event. Their packaging technology is second to none, and they are exploiting the crap out of it to do different versions of their AI chip. Some of them have onboard compute. Some of them are just GPUs, depending on what their customer wants.
But this is the big one. This is what they're talking about here. This is the thing that is going to dethrone Nvidia, according to everybody.
AMD unveils the Instinct MI300X GPU and the MI300A APU. Claims to be up to 1.6 times faster than NVIDIA's competing GPUs. They're stacking the memory and the compute and the I/O and everything all on one package. One of the chassis they showed was a server that had 4 sockets and no memory because the memory was on board the package with the CPU, with the processor. And that thing was absurdly powerful.
There's one big name that you might have noticed was missing in all of that, and they are not going to be BFFs with AMD. In fact, they've taken the opposite stance.
The Tom's Hardware headline is Intel calls AMD's chip snake oil for putting antiquated Zen 2 architecture in modern Ryzen 7000 mobile CPUs. But Intel also uses similar marketing tactics. They do. There's a lot of Raptor Lake CPUs in Linux that report as ADL, which is Alder Lake, like the 12 or the 13500, I think, for example, reports as Alder Lake, not Raptor Lake. When you're looking at it at like the raw chip level, there's not a lot of difference between 12th, 13th, and 14th generation. If you've got a 12th, like it's just, I mean, there's a little bit of difference in the K parts, but the clocks and it's a little, I don't know. But AMD is still selling Zen 2 cores, but on a different die process. And they tell you that in the CPU nomenclature, in like the numbering nomenclature at least. Whereas it's like, oh, this is 13th gen. It's like, is it really 13th gen though? A lot of people pointing that out.
And there's yet another company that wasn't mentioned in any of that. And this company is maybe not doing that great this year. And they're trying to throw a Hail Mary here at the end because they don't have any cool AI chips. And we found out that their customers are basically drowning in debt.
Apple to launch new iPads and M3 MacBook Air to fight weak sales. Now, actually, Apple did launch a new machine learning large language model framework to run on the M2s and the M3s. So they're hoping people will do some of their machine learning stuff, made on Mac kind of thing, whatever.
My iPad's still going strong 5 years later. No need to replace it.
It's not even an M1.
They're going to stop. They're doing the
They're going to slow
software.
it down. Yeah.
My mom has the original, I think it's the original, or maybe second gen iPad Air. It's now 2 operating system versions behind, and Safari is very flaky.
Yeah. Well, it is also Safari.
Well, you can't run not Safari. Like even when you run Chrome, it's still Safari under the hood because Apple.
Well, they are a hated company, and I do hate them. But there are some companies that even the big tech companies, now these are still big tech companies, we don't think of them in that terms, but even they can't touch the loathing that we collectively have for them. And I guess they're a little bit self-aware and yet not enough.
HP TV ads claim its printers are made to be less hated.
So they got a series of commercials here that you can go and watch. And it's basically people just, weeping and hating their printer.
Rending their garments.
Destroying it Office Space style.
PC load letter.
But they don't offer any reason as to why theirs is going to be better. And in fact, when we once again listen to the business side of things, when they talk about shareholders and like, oh, here's how we're going to make money, it's anything but less evil.
The Register headline is HP exec says the quiet part out loud when it comes to locking in print customers. Oh, we've still got some customers that need to do printing. Let's lock them in so that they can't switch printers.
So this little blurb right here.
The actual quote, we absolutely see when you move a customer from that pure transactional model where whether it's instant ink or plus adding on paper, we've got about a 20% uplift on the value of that consumer because you're locking the person in Committing a
Longer-term relationship.
Committing to a longer-term relationship. I just barely can read that.
So in other words, they will buy 20% of stuff that they don't need because we got them on a subscription. They didn't need new ink. They didn't need more paper. But we're going to send it to them every month anyway.
That's so, like, it makes me mad too because it's so wasteful.
Hideously capitalistically evil. Yeah. It's not even capitalism though, is it anymore? When you're forcing somebody to buy something, like why would you, like as an individual, you would never choose to do that. It is a choice of the lesser of two evils, not a truly capitalistic choice. Like I'm going to choose the best thing that's for me, but neither one of those things are good for me. It's the one that's the least bad.
So funny that you say that going into 2024. Now, you might see this headline and you think, wait a minute, Ireland already did this, but I think that was considered more of a test than Microsoft did. This is the real thing. This is actually going to be used.
China sinks a 1,400-ton data center in the sea with the power of 6 million PCs because our oceans aren't boiling off fast enough.
Is this bait? Is this just military bait? Is that what that is?
No, this is a really efficient way to run your data center. Just you can use the sea for cooling very effectively and with relatively low pollution.
Yeah, it worked. When Microsoft did it in Ireland, it was, I think a
Right.
couple of them failed and they were just like, oh, we're fine with that. You know, we put extra.
Just feels like a target.
And quantum computing continues to move forward. We've seen some new steps this week. However, maybe possibly also some sad news.
Quantum computers sets the record on a path towards error-free calculations. However, this research suggests that there is an absolute upper limit on the scale and size of a quantum computer because of speed of light propagation delays.
Not actually this research. This research is about the quantum bits. They've gotten, was it 48?
Yeah.
Up from 10. This one, if I sorted correctly, yes.
Physicists may have found a hard limit on the performance of large quantum computers. Right. Oops.
So when you break time down, when you try to divide time into smaller and smaller increments, probably because we're living in a simulation, it just stops working at some point and just starts going like returning random results.
It turns out that time is granular. Neat.
So without the ability to control those, tiny particles with timing, probably only so much we can do. And here's a really, really nasty headline. And you might be thinking, wow, this is just propaganda, right? This is the automotive industry stepping in. But I think Consumer Reports has a decent track record. Do we not trust them anymore? I don't keep up with them.
I don't know. It's so hard.
They used to be really, really reliable because they didn't take any kind of advertising.
Electric vehicles are less reliable than conventional cars, according to Consumer Reports.
Meanwhile, hybrids are number one.
I want to look at Rivian specifically because the people that have bought the Rivian electric vehicles have been uncharacteristically happy.
But there you go. Electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids have way more complaints and repair needs. To be fair, it is new technology.
Yeah.
So you're going to be ironing out some bugs. And if you're going to adopt an electric vehicle, maybe the Cybertruck is the worst choice, but it does offer one feature that no other Tesla does.
Tesla's Cybertruck will usher in a new Powershare bidirectional charging feature.
It's like giving someone a jump start in the parking lot.
Yeah. You can use one vehicle to charge another vehicle or to charge your house, or your house could charge your car.
Yeah, your house. That's the big one.
That would
right?
be cool.
Power goes out. Go plug in the Cybertruck.
Our power went out for like 5 hours the other night.
It seems like you're in a bad area for that.
Yeah, it's someone spits on the road and it's like, oh, power's out. There's a gas leak the other day. It was a mess.
I still haven't seen a Cybertruck IRL of you.
No, I've seen Teslas, but I haven't seen the Cybertruck. Have they been shipping those very long?
Yeah.
Yeah, for like a week, I think, right?
Oh, well, I mean, around here, I don't think those are high priority customers.
It's whoever's on the waiting list, right? I bet a lot of those people are, because you can get the money refunded that you put down in the beginning, right? So I think a lot of people did. A lot of people looked at that and they're like, bro, it's $20,000 more
For
that.
a third less range.
And that Teslas are probably a bad deal, but at least they're not doing this yet. Actually, they do this, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't know how bad they are with it though, because I know you can unlock the super speed thing with a subscription or maybe a one-time payment. Anyway, it's going to be everybody from now on.
Carmakers push forward with plans to make basic features subscription services despite widespread backlash. It turns out that most consumers are not looking at the total cost. They're just looking at, well, you're going to charge me $5,000 for this feature, or I could pay $500 a month for 20 months. Oh yeah, I'll just pay $500 a month and save $5,000. And it's like, you just said you were going to pay twice the amount of money for that. What now?
That's apparently a big thing with people who they get into car payments and then they use the next car purchase to pay off the previous loan and they keep rolling it. And then when the interest rate went up, they were like, wait a minute, I can't do that anymore. What do you mean? And here's the most dystopian headline of the week, even though Independent showed this as kind of like a positive.
Lucid Dream Startup says people can work in their sleep. I've done this before. I've slept to solve a problem because it was easier.
I will say, like, sometimes I'll be stuck on something when I end work for the day, and then I sleep, and the next morning I wake up and I'm like, I know how I'm going to fix this.
Yeah.
But I don't think I need a probably very expensive headset to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had that experience too.
And I only do that with things I enjoy, not the things I have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now you'll have a contractual obligation.
Your supervisor's like, did you use your Lucid Dream headset because your productivity's way down?
They won't have to ask. They'll have an app.
Yeah, and if you want to keep your health insurance, you'll use it.
Fabulous.
Well, here's some other a minor piece of good news. And it's not even good news yet, but we're on maybe the right track because another huge block, and there are so many of them, has been moved out of the way.
A massive repair lawsuit against John Deere clears a major hurdle.
This judge has some great quotes in here. I would recommend you go read it and write him a thank you letter.
Yeah.
Because
Is it a real Judge Judy moment where you're like, tell him, Judge Judy?
how many other judges have we seen go John Deere's way on this?
Yeah. It's rare. It's really just.
So he points out that even the limited stuff that John Deere promised about like rolling out tools and stuff to small repair shops, they said they did that, but they never did.
Yeah.
And so he's really calling them out on that.
Get him.
I say he. I actually don't know if it's a male gender. I apologize if it's a female. And some new excitement. Please no, I don't want this.
Microsoft readies a groundbreaking AI-focused Windows release as new leadership takes the helm. You just tell your computer what you want it to do, and it's going to do it for you. I don't think it works that way exactly.
AI in the Windows shell.
Yeah, I'm not excited for that.
I did see some really amazing Windows Power Automate stuff where you could take a bunch of business applications and then it's like, I'm going to train the AI on like what I do on a daily basis. Like I get this kind of an email from a client. I have to fill out this form, update this record in this online thing and do this other thing. And like Power Automate got it. Like you could show Power Automate how to do that. And then when you got that email, it's like, I want you to do this task. And it would basically do it. And that is like a 10x productivity multiplier with just a sprinkling of AI. And that is fantastic. This is not that.
What do you think will happen if you open up the AI-enabled shell and you say, AI-enabled shell, show me how to turn off the telemetry?
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
And if you are like me and you don't want any of this new world of Windows, you can maybe keep using your Windows 10, but with a big caveat.
Windows 10 gets 3 more years of security updates if you can afford them. This is for commercial customers, but for the first time, Microsoft is also opening it up for home users.
They point out that it's an escalating fee yearly because they really, really don't want you to keep doing this. 2025 will be your cutoff otherwise. And our beloved Twitch has said no more to being held hostage by network fees. By the way, this is what they want for all the Western countries in terms of like, oh, the tech companies need to pay their share for the infrastructure. This is what it leads to.
Twitch to shut down Korea over prohibitively expensive network fees. Remember how Korea is charging Netflix because Netflix customers use more network bandwidth than everybody else, even though that is patently insane? This is what happens, which is what you were saying.
So they cut the video quality, the max video quality on Twitch Korea was 720.
Yeah.
And they also did some other things to limit it, and it still wasn't enough. They were losing money.
Which is crazy considering like the esports scene over there to be losing money.
Plus, their streamers, they have like huge celebrity
Yeah.
esports people. You know, they're bringing in a ton of money.
Obviously, the cost of the infrastructure is not that.
They do
Promise
have,
you it's not that.
Korea does have state of the art broadband. So
Which is even less cost.
probably costs more. Well, but they might be amortizing it, I guess. But still, I think they're,
I read another article that was talking about how like heavily controlled their network stuff is. So this is literally just for those companies to keep making money.
Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
It's not even they're locked in for profit. They want more growth. But the growth comes at eating a larger and larger piece of the pie of the traffic that runs on it. So
It's also important to remember that these companies have debt because we operate in a world where debt is wealth, even though that's fundamentally not possible. And now that the interest rate has risen, a lot of companies are learning that.
Spotify cut 17% of jobs amid rising capital costs. Yeah, it turns out you can't just run on borrowed capital from now to the end of time because of the 2% interest rate.
So what do? You cut the guys at the bottom. Keep the dividend, keep the board happy. Now we do have a correction. We covered the story last week where they said they wanted Xbox on Nintendo and Sony. That has been walked back. They said that is not what they're looking for, but they are looking for this.
Microsoft wants Xbox on mobile as it seeks partners for a new gaming store. Xbox on iPhone? Shouldn't have got rid of those Windows phones, should you?
They're not going to want to pay that 30%. Or is it 15 now? Either way, they're not going to be into that. And if you need more of an indication that the true constituents of our government are the corporations and not the people, you need to look no further than your local post office.
A rural post office was told to prioritize Amazon packages. Chaos ensued.
This upset me as someone who lives in a very rural area and has a very tiny rural post office.
I feel like, so reading the article and reading the headline, the article has an entirely different tone than the headline. I feel like that some editor changed the headline later to be more inflammatory because the article actually says that the reason the post office had chaos ensued is because they were getting a lot more business, but they weren't allowed to hire more people. And the business was coming from Amazon. And they're like, but if Amazon's paying us for packages, we should be able to hire more people, right? And they're like, no.
But it's also be true that those Amazon packages go into the queue.
Yeah.
And not be prioritized. Because people were saying, like, I'm not getting my medications. I'm not getting my bills. Like, everything's backed up because they're spending all of their effort delivering these other packages.
My takeaway from that was that Amazon was, going to say, if you don't deliver on time, we're not going to give you money. And it's like, we need the money. And it's like, well, if you're getting the money, then you hire people to handle the load. But they weren't allowed to hire people to do the load.
I can totally see Andy Jassy's press releases on that. It's like, well, you just need to move your prescriptions to Amazon. Problem solved.
The Amazon delivery drivers are doing priority, and then USPS is just... It would really make me super angry because the Postal Service is typically amazing. But if you interfere with, like, we need to hire more people to do this, if the postmaster's telling you that and then you don't go with it, the postmaster should be like Judge Dredd style. It's like, okay, the postmaster is enforcing the death penalty on because he had the budget to hire somebody. You just wouldn't let him.
Also, we know that Amazon every year at this time of year has to massively expand their workforce. Why would we not expect the same thing from the Postal Service?
Yeah, it's so dumb.
And just seasonal workers. People are into that. They'll do that. And the hype train, definitely the biggest and loudest hype train for this week was this.
GTA 6, Rockstar officially unveils first trailer after early leak. It showed up early.
It showed up like maybe 6 hours earlier. They're like, whatever.
Oops.
Were you hyped? I was like, eh.
It looks great.
Yeah, it's pretty. There's not really a lot of gameplay in it.
The company that is producing this is not the company that we came to know and love. See also the horrible monster that has become Grand Theft Auto 5.
And Blizzard.
And
Overwatch.
The currency store that's in Grand Theft Auto 5. Even like Bethesda with like Skyrim. If you want to play the Skyrim, like Chris said, you will have a guttural reaction if you install the current version of Skyrim because it has a microtransaction store.
No.
And this is going to be broken on day one. It's going to be the whole Rockstar social club nonsense. I'm going to hate it, but I'm going to play it.
They get rid of the social club to replace it with something even more insidious.
Oh, so awful.
If they fix the load times and like the terrible UI, maybe it'd be okay. But
I got to think is the graphical fidelity of this is going to need way more textures and way more load time. I did really like the song though. I was not familiar with that Tom Petty song. What a banger. And over at Bungie, they kind of got gobbled up by Sony, but Sony was like, "Yeah, we're gonna let you keep your autonomy. Don't worry." You know, it's another one of those another one of those merger lies where it's like we're not going to mess around with this company, but they did have some interesting fine print that has affected Bungie greatly.
Bungie devs say the atmosphere is soul crushing amid layoffs, cuts, and fear of a total Sony takeover. This is totally a Darth Vader Cloud City moment all over again.
And in fact, the fear of the takeover is well founded because in that fine print, if Bungie doesn't hit certain revenues per year, their entire board gets purged and Sony picks the replacements.
Oops. I've altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it any further.
And your second reminder this week, and the more pressing one, of why keeping your stuff on the cloud and going into subscription services is not the way.
PlayStation to delete a ton of TV shows users already paid for. I experienced this with Apple TV, and so I think it was Star Trek. Like, I'll buy something on Apple TV. This was like a decade ago. And because it was high quality and it was a sort of, no, we're like, we don't have the license for this anymore. Sorry. Apple, to their credit, at least, they delete it out of your library, but they don't delete it off of your computer. Sony's going a step farther and actually deleting it off of anything that's online.
So this is the whole Warner Brothers Discovery thing. They want their thing to be more desirable. They want you to go to their service. And if you can get the same content on PlayStation, then that's not going to drive you to that service, is it? So I'm just going to delete it.
How terrible is that too if you're like a creator who's worked, put your heart and soul into a television show or a movie and you're like, oh, it got picked up by a major studio and people are going to see it. And then they're like, they just quietly shutter it away and you never get to see it again.
Plus, think like not everybody understands the situation, so they might get mad at you.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like,
why did you take your movie down off of this thing? It's like, I don't have any control over that.
Mike Rowe, how could you do that to us?
I literally got an email from a relative the other day that was asking for help with Netflix. And it was because shows had disappeared off of Netflix. And they were like, I don't understand. I was watching this show and now it's gone. And I'm like, well, that's...
Well, let me explain to you about how capitalism works and how it's affecting our media.
And they were like, what do you mean? And it's just gone. I was like, and then he was like, not even a week later, he's like, all right, I ordered this off of eBay and I got this. I went to the flea market and I picked up all these DVDs and it was like a milk crate full of DVDs. And he's like, how do I get the DVDs onto the computer? Because I'm just going to watch them on the computer. And it's like, wow, these companies are radicalizing even just the people in Podunk, USA. This is amazing.
No hate, just picking up DVDs.
Yeah,
too.
this wasn't even somebody that was like super into computers now. Now they've got a hobby. And it's like, my hobby is sticking it to the man. One flea market
That's
DVD
the most
at a
Eastern
time.
Kentucky thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That's the Linode gateway drug. Well, we get, as consumers, we just get screwed over with every aspect of our lives and everything is awful and there's really not much we can do about it. But the workforce, God bless them, has put their foot down on this one, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Amazon's strict return to office policy is pushing more employees into quitting. This is Amazon, but this is a preview of our upcoming story where we talk about this with VMware as well. The Broadcom executives are like, everybody back to the office, and everybody that is not currently working back to the office is like, well, guess I'll go work somewhere else.
They just send a thumbs down emoji in Teams.
And we often get new designs for websites, and people inevitably just viciously hate them, and they strike back. And eventually they seem to be okay with it, but some are worse than others, I guess.
Discord users are canceling their Nitro after a new mobile layout update. No one likes the new mobile layout.
Yeah, to be fair, so like normally I'm kind of like, oh, people need to calm down a little bit about redesigns. This one though is pretty annoying. So it used to be on Discord and mobile, you would have all of your like recent conversations on like your little sidebar or whatever. Now they've changed it so you have your servers on the sidebar, but you have to like click down to a different area to click your like individual private messages. And it's very clunky to go between. So I can see why someone would be upset by that.
I've never had any desire to use Discord mode.
What if you need to look at memes?
There's memes all over the place.
You
No shortage of
you
memes.
gotta find more memes.
And here's a quick follow up to this story that's been going for a long time. We finally have a number.
California pilot who crashed his plane for YouTube clicks is headed to federal prison for 6 months. The FAA found that he deliberately crashed his plane. He had other options. He probably should have attempted an unpowered landing because, you know, as a prop aircraft, they can do an unpowered landing pretty safely. But he didn't do that.
And they exposed that he got ad dollars for it and that he used a helicopter to haul the wreckage away to try to hide it from him. So,
Probably that last bit really
that
sunk the case.
really upset him. And moving over to, well, we're already in social media, but moving to Meta, they have decided a huge decision here for the upcoming election season. That's probably going to cost them quite a bit of money, actually.
Meta will enforce a ban on AI-powered political ads in every nation, no exceptions.
I respect it, but I suspect they'll walk it back after a couple weeks.
Well, in the past, we've seen them say stuff like this and then just not enforce it.
Yeah.
Let's also not forget that Cambridge Analytica was against their terms of service.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but they also have a new fun toy that they have rolled out that you can play with.
Meta's new AI image generator was trained on 1.1 billion Instagram and Facebook photos.
That's right. You and your family and all your fun times are now fodder for AI generated images. Part of your face might show up in some of these fake political ads.
I don't love it.
You are the product, Krista,
I know.
even with your only using the marketplace. They're using your marketplace browsing data. They are going to take a step, though, that the government was very against. I hope there's not a backroom deal here, and this is not real.
Facebook and Messenger to automatically encrypt messages. And this is end-to-end encryption. This is the best sort of encryption. So far, we Level 1 don't see a downside, which is incredible when we're dealing with Meta.
I guess that's Meta's Christmas present.
Oh, to all of us.
Yeah, except I don't use it. So, okay. And finally, the dumpster fire over at Twitter. There was several stories about this, but this is sort of the latest and the perhaps the most incendiary.
Elon Musk demands Bob Iger, quote unquote, be fired after Disney pulled ads from X.
This is very editorial. I can't say this word.
Editorialized?
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's heavily, but it is also like just quoting Musk directly. And it's like, well, I mean,
This is the yellowest of journalism.
yeah.
This is like the surface of the sun yellow journalism. How about billionaire conspiracy theorist Elon Musk? And then they call Disney the Magic Kingdom. How much does that soften it?
Yeah, it really does.
And
They're really both evil entities here. It's hard to root for one.
often uses his influential perch to bully critics of others. I mean, that's true, I guess.
Bob Iger is lawful evil, and Elon Musk is chaotic evil.
Either way, it's not a good side of the alignment to be on.
And CNN is fake. That's what you should take away from this.
Yeah, you really should go down the rabbit hole on this and then come back and reread the CNN article because, like, it's so unhinged.
The quote from Musk though, he's like, "This will hurt my company," and I was like, "Well, I mean, that's true, but you don't whine about it like that."
Well, he also said, if Twitter is destroyed, the advertisers are to be blamed. And it's like, well, I don't know. That's totally.
Yeah,
He did it. Musk did have a point in that all the things that Disney was complaining about, other platforms do it as bad or worse.
And have been caught doing it more often.
Yes. And there have been a lot of really crazy things that have emerged in the media that, I mean, like Sam Altman, he had a tweet on X that was, people were telling me that there was a lot of anti-Semitism and this, that, and the other. And now it's like, okay, I believe you now. I believe it. And it's like some of that has been exposed indirectly from some of this billionaire whatever is going on here.
do you think too that there's like, maybe there's an interpersonal element here where people just don't like Musk, and instead of taking that and being like, is there something I could do to make these people like me, or like find a way to find common ground. Maybe I should stop saying F you in the media to this person.
But I also absolutely believe that there's a concerted effort to destroy Twitter now that they've lost control of it. Because we know from the Twitter files, the government was basically just deciding what went on there. And now they can't.
I don't know if it was just the government, but also other like the Rupert Murdoch and Bob Iger types also in control.
I think it was mostly the government. I mean, it was, like the I can't say the word, but the response teams and the security agencies were really the ones that were deciding.
Was it two groups manipulating in two different ways, each looking the other way so that the one could do the thing that they wanted? It's like, okay, you do this hideously evil thing and look the other way while we do a different kind of evil thing. And then the other group is doing a different kind of evil thing and looking the other way while realizing that the other group is doing the other thing. I don't know.
Well, we got 40 minutes.
Patreon fullplay.com. I don't know. It's
I love
fun.
you.
Please.
Bye.